All right, how's everyone doing? I am Rich Celenza. Thanks for checking out the Rich Celenza show. So, what I want to talk about today is your walk. And does it exude strength or weakness? I hope I'm using the word correctly. Exude. Is that right? Sometimes sometimes with these words I screw them up, but I think that's the correct word. Basically, what I'm saying is when you walk, you know, when you're walking, I should say, do you have a look of confidence, or really do you look of somebody who's just very weak and unstable? Now, a lot of times, if you know anything about my podcast, I try to help people with their image. And it's not just a lot of times clothing. I think a lot of people think that, or hair, or style, or all these different types of things. There's these little small things I think that people underestimate. And a lot of them could be like posture. I talk a lot about posture. I've even done it independently. I've done it with my co-host, Robert Beninati, the importance of posture. And it's not just when standing and talking to somebody. It's also when sitting at maybe your desk, when someone addresses you there. It could be when you're in a restaurant. It could be when you're standing at a bar. It could be even in your car. All these places, a coffee house. And, the same with, the walk. I think a lot of people underestimate how when they walk, especially if you're walking up to somebody that you're there to meet. I'm just saying. It could be people especially somebody you don't know. When you walk up to this person, what are you kind of, showcasing about yourself? What are you displaying? Are you showing confidence, weakness? Are you not looking them in the eyes even if you got to shake their hand? If it's a man, are you walking up a certain way? Do you walk up to women differently? Or just walking, say, in an airport, for instance, right? And again, back to your posture, I think people really underestimate when you're walking being hunched, especially if you're looking at your phone all the time and your neck is always down. I call it the C. What again is that doing to your body, even your posture when it comes to breathing? And back to sitting down, I think people should take a lot of photos of themselves. I tell people when they're sitting down from all different angles, because you'll be shocked at what your posture looks like, also what your body looks like when sitting. I think a lot of people only look at themselves in photos standing a lot of times, kind of sucking in their stomach or different angles, when most of the time they don't look like that. But back to the walk, my mother used to always talk about the walk of like certain people that are financially wealthy, how they walk, or somebody who's kind of a thug, how they walk. All different types of people, all different types of, I guess you could say, careers too. Because if you look at kind of a construction guy, I get it. Like they walk a certain way. You look at a military man, they kind of walk a certain way, or woman. You look at somebody in the corporate world. If you look, I spent a lot of time in Manhattan and all these different places, how they walk. And we all kind of have our own swag, I guess you could say. But I do want people to kind of maybe really take a hard look at what their walk. It's not just about what it looks like. What is it making you feel like? Because I think I've been there too, where I've walked at certain times throughout my life. I'm just exhausted and I'm burnt out. And then at other times throughout my life, I have felt extremely confident and empowering. And I think me collecting money throughout my entire life, I've talked about this before, I had to always be on edge to a certain degree, because I'm carrying cash around, right, throughout my life. And then I ended up for another decade traveling all over North America and even Italy and walking around. And I just wanted a disposition when I walked with somebody not to mess around with. I didn't want to look like somebody, and I'm not saying I could fight 2-3 guys at the same time, but I did want people to look at me and say, you know what, if I do make the move on this guy, he's going to know how to handle himself. And that's kind of truthful. But I also am, working out my whole life. I do have a different type of physique and maybe a different type of disposition and demeanor than a lot of other men have, especially when I was a lot bigger. But I don't care what size you are, and I don't care what height you are. Because I think a lot of times too, depending on the height of somebody, the weight of somebody, how thin they are, all these different types of things kind of change your walk. And I get it. Because let's face it, if you're very heavy, you're going to have a certain type of walk. And if you're very thin, your posture may be entirely different. Or if you're very, very tall or very, very short, I get it. But I do think we can find something where it's consistent and it empowers us. And when we do walk around, people look at us and they understand that we're not to be taken advantage of, or we're not going to fuck around. You know what I mean? We are here, and especially if you're in sales, I guess, or if you do anything. I don't care if you're an athlete. I don't care if you're in a blue collar, white collar, physical labor. You want to have that posture where it's strong. You have a really good foundation, and it's not just about the here and now. So if you're 20, 30, 40, or even 50, we want to think about what's our posture going to be when we're 60, 70, 80, and if you plan on living longer, what's that posture going to be like? Because each way we're walking, each way we're standing, it is affecting our hips, our ankles, our knees, our lower back, all these different types of things. So it's not just about kind of walking and saying, hey, I'm walking because I'm confident. We're also got to think, I'm walking for health reasons. And I don't think a lot of people think about that until it's too late. And that can go for your shoes, and I'm going to wrap it up with that. Because I do think a lot of people buy a lot of shitty shoes, and they don't realize after taking literally hundreds of thousands of steps over decades, the toll it is taking on their feet, their ankles, their back. Now, I'm not telling you got to go out and spend thousands of dollars on shoes, okay? But I am telling you your shoes may, really empower you to make you walk and feel better and be more comfortable throughout the day, maybe even look better and look, it could be boots too, it could be sandals, it could be whatever the hell you want to wear, but really paying attention to all the things when it comes to when you're walking, all right? Yeah, I talk a lot about that with, when I try to help men or women sometimes, when it comes to changing their image, I start with the shoes and work my way up sometimes as far as the exterior, but when it comes to the personal hygiene and all that, I start from the head and work down. It's kind of an opposite thing, but I will tell you, if you start putting on a different pair of shoes that are very nice looking and very comfortable, and you start walking in them, it's going to a lot of times make you feel different. It's going to empower you, and you're going to, not only walk different, but like I said earlier, just make yourself feel better. And people also are going to take notice of that as well, especially if you're walking and you look like somebody that's cool and somebody that's interesting and somebody that, that they would like to have a conversation with you, not somebody who either looks down and looks scared or looks maybe overly arrogant with their nose in the air, or maybe too aggressive, or looks like they want to fight all the time, or they're mad. All these different types of things come into play when we're walking. All right? That's my 2 cents. You got any questions or comments, please feel free to hit me up. I'm rich@richcelenza.com. And men and women, I try to help, with image consulting or identity if you want it. I take a totally different perspective, I think, than most people. It's not just about looking amazing and, all different things regarding the style and fashion, even though I get into that. But it's also the small things, like I was saying, posture and the way you walk and the way you maybe even talk when you move your hands, and all these different types of things. People are looking at you. And if you want to, maybe have an identity of somebody who wants to do better, maybe just addressing some of these things to improve on. All right? Take care, and I wish you nothing but the best.